Hey guys, this is me, Ismo, and here we have with us
Feelings 530.
fried chicken and feelings 530. Okay, so tonight we are walking in a mysterious jungle,
Dogs behind.
and yeah, there are a lot of dogs behind. I would actually say there are a lot of packs of dogs behind. Okay, so we have a story here for you all tonight, and it is about the origin of werewolves. Werewolves might have come in the Hollywood film industries in more than 100 films, but the origin of it was first put up in 1905, and I forgot the film's name. Okay, so let's just skip it and come. So you see guys, basically the story of werewolves originated in the 1500s in a village. The people, especially the women and children of that village, went missing when they walked through the forest at night or sometimes even at the day. And they believed some mysterious monster was hunting them down. Because of their sins. And the pastors and all those people started praying, making money for their churches back then, neglecting the fact that something was haunting them. So when the children and the women of the village went missing, people were set out on hunt to find that mysterious creature. Some seem to have seen them, and they described it as something not of this world, something more treacherous and viscous. So there's a story of a small kid of that town who seemed to have witnessed and actually been through the attack of that monster. And when she was about to be eaten by that, she just plucked in, or you can say a stick or a sharp one, and put it right through its wrist. And she somehow managed to escape that night. The girl grew up with horrific dreams and horrible nightmares. And 10 years later, when she was sleeping in her room, when everything was quiet and silent, she heard a scream coming from the forest.
I don't know.
From the forest, and her dad was set out with the gun to hunt it down. Hey, I'm going. He announced the villagers of this thing happening there, and all the villagers started talking and gossiping. And they went down to hunt that monster down. And the hunt continued at the midnight, where they could see nothing but just the full moon. Just like this. One moon and nothing else. And we all know that a man turns into a treacherous werewolf on a full moon day. So they were all hunting, and it is obvious that a few men went missing that night too. But somehow the father of the girl happened to shoot down a wolf. And when seen close, they realized that it was just a wolf and not a werewolf. The thing you can identify them is that werewolves do not have tails. But this one had a tail. And when the father of the girl looked at the palm of the creature, there was nothing. It was just an empty palm. But we know that the little girl had stabbed the creature on its palm. So the father said that it was not it. Meanwhile, in the village, when the girl was all alone, one of a holy man or a prestigious man from that town told the girl's father that she could stay with him, and he had taken her to his house. So when the father was busy hunting the werewolf with his men, this girl was in a safe custody with this noble man. But what we didn't know was, when they were both alone at home, he revealed his true identity. He took her to a room, closed and locked the door, and said, "My dear girl, I have been waiting for this day. Hundreds and thousands of nights unslept for this day. And do you know why? It was because 10 years back, you made something which I could never forget." While saying this, he removed the gloves off his hand, and there was a mark on his wrist. That very mark was nothing but the place where the girl had stabbed him. The girl seemed horrified. She didn't know what to do. And she tried running in the house, and she went to a basement where she saw heads of people decapitated from their bodies, and hands and legs all apart, and some even boiling. There were heaps of such bodies there. The girl seemed horrified, and she kept running and running for her life. Meanwhile, the father of the girl, who knew it was not the father, returned to save Greta. He thought of meeting his dear daughter in a good condition, but instead he saw his daughter being hunted by a man, a deadly man.
Okay.
At this point, he had grown some hair.
Our friends were.
This man, the werewolf, the half-breed, had grown some hair on his faces and was turning into a werewolf, but somehow all the men caught him down and put him down. And in the next morning, he was sentenced to death in front of the public. All the villagers had come there, and he was asked, admit your crime and tell us what all things you have done to these people. And he opened up. He said, when I was 7 years old, I met the devil, and he offered me a deal in exchange of my life. He said I could be anything, and I chose the wolf, a ravaged elf with high strength and high senses. From that day on, I started hunting animals and eating their flesh until one day I found the taste of the flesh of humans. All the people, the little girls and the kids, were all trembling with fear, looking at the expression of his and the anger with which he was telling his little story. And he turned towards the girl who had stabbed him and started giving a laugh that little girl could never forget for the rest of her life. And that moment, he was put to death by a guillotine. And that is how the story of werewolves spread throughout the northern islands and through all of the Europe. And when the Europeans went to capture the great nation of America, the tales and stories grew. And we all know that America is a place where the vampires originated, and the blending of vampires and werewolves happened. And we have these stories which are coming up in Hollywoods and even in your own colloquial languages. So thank you guys. Here we end with the story of werewolves. See you, some day later with another story. And this is fried chicken, and this is Tellings 538, and this is me. It's more. Bye bye. And that's the moon with which we are walking by. Okay guys, bye bye.